Good Wednesday morning, and thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get right to your headlines.
I'm Chris Arabsky. New today, Manny Collins' father, Jordan Collins Sr., is charged with his son's murder. Jordan Collins Sr. faces one count of second-degree murder after being arrested on Monday. He's currently being held in the Anoka County Jail on $2 million bond. Manny Collins was last seen on May 8th. According to prosecutors, he was staying with his father at the time. According to court documents, while searching for the 16-year-old, investigators searched his father's apartment, finding blood-stained garbage bags and several butcher-style knives and Manny Collins' blood. His body was later found in an Elk River landfill. His father was arrested just over a week later.
Staggering new numbers this morning from those catastrophic floods over in Texas. Governor Greg Abbott now saying at least 110 people are dead and more than 170 are missing, most of them in hard-hit Kerr County. There are growing questions and frustrations over whether there was adequate staffing at the National Weather Service and timely warnings as the water started to rise.
I've lost friends, true friends, and we've lost precious families, precious children. I wish to God there was a way we could have warned them.
So we know a lot of you would like to help the people out in Texas. That's why our parent company created the Tegna Texas Flood Relief Fund to support flood victims in and around Kerr County. To learn more, you can scan the code right now on your screen. You can also go to KARE11.com and then scroll down to the featured section. Meantime, in neighboring New Mexico, intense video shows homes being carried away by water after torrential rain. Take a look at that image there. Wow. This area near Ruidoso was slammed last year by a wildfire, so there's no vegetation to stop the water from overflowing. Right now, rescue crews are on the ground getting people out of the water and looking for anyone out there who needs help. Well, right now we're tracking an emergency situation in western Minnesota caused by weeks of heavy rain. High water is leaving a lot of damage from washed out shorelines to saturated farm fields, especially in Candy Ojai County. So from the ground, it doesn't look like much, but you look from the sky and it tells a much different story. Farmers reporting losses of 30 to 50% across their fields in the last month. The initial flooding happening on June 13th when the area saw 11.5 inches of rain in a 24-hour period.
I mean, it is devastating. I mean, you put everything you have into what you do. I mean, I love being able to call myself a farmer, and just like that, it's gone. And you literally go through that grieving process of, how do I come back from this? What are we gonna do? I mean,
farmers like Sarah LeShook there say the only thing they could hope for now is clearer skies next year. A check of the markets today on what was the deadline for countries to strike a deal with the U.S. You see the Dow up there 188 points. But now President Trump has set a new deadline of August 1st, saying this is the final opportunity to avoid potentially massive tariffs on their goods coming into the country. The president also lashing out at Russian President Vladimir Putin and also planning to meet with Israel's prime minister to put an end to the fighting in Gaza for good. Alice Barr is in Washington with those details.
Hi there. Today was the original deadline for countries to reach trade deals with the U.S. or get hit with sky-high reciprocal tariffs. But President Trump has set a new August 1st deadline, and he says this time there will be no extensions for countries that don't strike a deal.
A friend of mine is
President Trump with his cabinet at his side, focusing on foreign wars and trade negotiations.
I just want you to know, a letter means a deal.
Saying overnight new trade announcements are coming this morning for 7 countries after sending letters to 14 global trading partners on Monday, establishing higher tariff rates if they don't negotiate new deals before August 1st.
It's a better way. It's a more powerful way.
The president also announcing a new 50% tariff on copper imports without setting a date, and saying new pharmaceutical levies of up to 200% are coming. As countries scramble to respond, Chinese officials warning the U.S. against reigniting trade tensions, promising retaliation if any deals hurt their economy. Turning to Ukraine, where Russian attacks are ramping up, President Trump confirming he approved sending more defensive weapons to Ukraine after the Pentagon paused shipments, citing concerns about low stockpiles.
Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people.
In a shift in tone, the president voicing increasing frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
We get a lot of bull thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth.
Now reviewing a bipartisan sanctions package against Russia, as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meets today with Republican lawmakers and top defense officials amid a renewed push for a ceasefire with Hamas to end the devastating fighting in Gaza and bring hostages home. The White House also celebrating a Supreme Court ruling that allows the Trump administration to move ahead with the mass layoffs of federal workers at 19 agencies, overruling a California judge who had said the administration needed input from Congress. The Supreme Court did not rule on the legality of the layoffs, but cleared the way for the firings while litigation continues. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
Well, it's the beginning of a new era at airports across the country. This morning, for the first time in nearly 2 decades, you can now leave your shoes on when you go through security. A small change in line is expected to drastically decrease the wait. At least that's what the Homeland Security Secretary had to say. She credits new technology and Real ID improving identity confirmation. As reports of the shoe policy became widely publicized yesterday, one person on X asked the TSA if they can get a refund for pre-check. The TSA answered no. Now, we talked with some passengers this morning about the change.
Yeah, I truly appreciate that, especially as someone who has an invisible disability, and the fact that taking my shoes off while going through TSA can be somewhat of a challenge.
It's going to make it so much more convenient, less stressful, especially if you're traveling with young kids or elderly who are not able to do those things on their own.
I was a little hesitant about the change because I just think that we need to always be prepared for any type of potential disaster or threat. But I know that the technology has advanced so much in terms of screening in all of the airports that I'm assuming that if there's anything that could be detected, it'll probably be detected.
A lot of people looking forward to this one. So for now, the Homeland Security Secretary says pre-check will remain the easier option since the regular process still requires passengers to send items besides shoes through screening. In exactly 1 month, on August 9th, the Stone Arch Bridge in Minneapolis will reopen to the public. The bridge has been partially closed since early last year for repairs to keep it from deteriorating. A spokesman for MnDOT says there will be a ceremonial ribbon cutting along with food trucks and live entertainment when the bridge reopens. They also noted it's reopening 2 months ahead of schedule. Listen to this, an incredible story of survival in St. Paul, where firefighters rescue a man who was stuck underground for 4 days. The fire department says they responded after someone just happened to hear his cries for help yesterday. Crews rescued him from a vault a nearby business uses for storage. The deputy chief says the man was alert and told them he'd been walking at night in the area not well traveled when he fell.
That person called certainly saved his life. Another few days without certainly water and the temperatures that we've had, a different outcome may have been in play.
Now, the man is still in the hospital, but thankfully he is expected to be okay. On our way to break here, who's hungry? The Minnesota State Fair just released their new food and drink list for the 2025 get-together, and it's packed with all sorts of goodies. There's Magdalena's chimney cakes for those with a sweet tooth. On the savory side, there's stuffed tater tots from Greater Tater. Several new vendors will make their fair debut this year. Make sure you go to the full list at KARE11.com. A lot of interesting options there, including that Uncrustable burger, which is probably lots of calories. We'll be right back with more news and weather after this break.